What's up, YouTubers? I wanted to get on here and tell you about spiritual awakening because it can be very frightening at first, and you're asking yourself, what the hell's going on? Um, it was very frightening for me because I didn't know anybody that was experiencing the same things that I was until I researched it online. And so one thing I can assure you is don't be afraid. Everything's going to be all right. Sometimes you feel like you're dying. You're like, am I dying? Is what's happening to me? The physical symptoms for me have been overwhelming too. So I'm just going to go through the basics, what I felt, and hopefully you can relate and just find some solace in the fact that you're not alone. So first thing is change in sleep patterns. That was huge for me. I was sleeping so much less than I would before. Isolation was big. I didn't want to be around anybody. I still really don't want to be around people. And conversations about like a movie or television or the weather just become obsolete. They're just not important to you anymore. And you're just like, really? Can we talk about the meaning of life? And let's get deeper here, because this is just this surface, superficial stuff and really doesn't matter. I want to talk about some soul searching nitty gritty. And another thing that I felt was my senses were heightened. They're very, very heightened. My sense of smell, oftentimes it reminds me of somebody that passed on. Like I'll smell perfume that my grandmother wore, or I'll smell cigarette, and nobody in the house is smoking. So my grandfather smoked, my great grandfather, sorry. Seeing shimmering or white spots, auras, has been big for me because I was never able to see somebody's aura, and then now I can see the aura pretty well. Hearing is extreme. This was in the number one for me. My hearing is so heightened to the point where loud sounds bother me, and I can hear different frequencies. Like I know when there's a negative energy around or there's a negative vibration because I can actually hear it. It's really bizarre. You start to enjoy being alone, realizing it's okay and that you're not going to die and that this is just a process. Synchronicity, huge. Just remember that if you see 1, 2, 3 and it's ascending, then that's a good thing. You're on the right path. If it's descending, then you probably need to rethink. No, you definitely need to rethink your decision, your choice, and go back and reevaluate the situation. So remember, ascending, good. Descending, not so good. If you see certain numbers so if you see like 3 4s or 3 2s, that's usually a good sign. It's usually a sign that your spirit guides are with you and that there's angels around you, good energies around you. Synchronicity has been really huge for me, like seeing my birthday and 13. My birthday is July 13th, so seeing the number 13 is huge. Downloads. I did not know what the hell that was. And so when I got my first one, it was so intense, it took my breath away, and I'm trying to convey to somebody what I'm feeling and trying to express it through words. And I was basically going like in sign language because I couldn't get it out. It was just so much. So the influx of information was so quick. And so I had to learn, and I am learning that it's okay to take a deep breath and just slow down, and know that things are going to be okay, and that I'll process the information that's coming in at a slower pace than it is coming in. So eventually it all gets out and it's all good. However, it is a little intimidating. There have been so many instances in my life, profound things that have happened to me that are completely unexplainable. I can tell you that when I was born, the doctor put diamonds in my ears. I was 2 days old, less than 2 days old, in the hospital. And they really didn't do that a whole lot at the hospital I was born at. I don't think they really ever did that. So that was kind of weird. My family on my dad's side, I come from a history of Masons, and they're all very good people. And so growing up, I was around a lot of people that passed away. When my aunt passed away, I actually stayed home from school that day, and I felt like a pressure on my back, like there was somebody behind me all day. Well, come to find out, my mom and my grandmother felt that the same day. And my mom came home and said, Thea and Margaret died. And I said, oh, I already know. She's in heaven. And then after that, I was with a friend of my brother's, and we went to this beautiful house in Bayshore, off of Bayshore in Tampa, Florida. And this area is beautiful. It's, a lot of ritzy restaurants and upscale clubs and just beautiful homes, mansions. And so we're at this doctor's house, and his friend's there. He's a santero, which is a Cuban priest, basically. And he carved a cross in the top of my right foot and put a cross on my head in firewood soot. And I remember him telling me that I was going to be very special in this life. And back then I just didn't pay attention to any of it. I was kind of like, whatever. I was smoking pot, and that's all I really wanted to do was smoke pot and get drunk. So fast forward to June of 2016. I was standing in front of the microwave heating Tostitos dip. The next thing I know, I was on the floor, and I was like animalistic. And it was almost like I was having a seizure, but something was like coming out of me. And I spoke in French and Latin and Hebrew, and I have 18 minutes of that night recorded. And the reason why I'm telling you these things is because I want you to know that the gifts of the Spirit are absolutely possible. That once I turned off the TV, I haven't watched TV in over 2 years. And once I turned the TV off, it was like all these things that I didn't know that I could do, like paint. I'm an artist now, and I have just this affinity for music and poetry, which I've always had that, but it's like at a heightened sense right now. It's like at a heightened state. So God flicked the dominoes. The universe flicked the dominoes for me that night. And it was kind of like I saw my entire life in just an instant. And I saw the meaning of the universe in an instant. And so, like I said, I have 18 minutes recorded. I spoke French, Latin, and Hebrew. Prior to that, like a couple months prior, I'd went to an energy healer. His name is Jimmy Mack. He's in Clearwater, Florida. And he helped me a lot. He helped me clear some things out of my life. And I think that's what helped push me forward too. So now combine that and being in love with somebody to the point where they allowed me to see that I wasn't that great of a person. They were so good that, or portrayed themselves to be so good that I believed in that, and that I saw a person that I wanted to be, that I aspired to be. Like, I want to be that honest. I want to be that humble and that good natured and that kind and giving, not that I wasn't, but I just wasn't happy with who I was. And he made me see that, in my life, I've made a lot of mistakes. And so I just didn't want to be an asshole anymore, basically, and a liar. And we all lie. But when you become so enveloped in lies that you lose yourself because you're lying to please people and lying to appease somebody that really at the end doesn't even matter, it's not worth it. So some energy healer, stop watching TV, fall in love, see my truth, and then lose that love. And I was so broken. But it was like God saw that I truly love people, and I truly loved this person so much that I was willing to change me and sacrifice me. And I remember that night that I was taken over by the Spirit, I was on my knees and talking to God, and I just felt this energy, and I just kept saying that I was sorry and that I would sacrifice my life for the world to see the truth. And I kept saying, Selah, Selah. I had no idea what that meant until after the fact. And it means to pause or to praise. And oftentimes we forget to pause, just take a second to just woosah, goose fraba, whatever, and just praise God. So let's take a minute right now and just praise the Lord and praise the universe. Um, Everything happens in our life for a reason, and sometimes we're like, what the hell is going on? But trust me that this too shall pass. And in this moment, maybe not in this this moment right now, but maybe in 10 minutes, maybe in 10 years, you're going to look back and say, okay, that happened because of I needed to go through that. And so just trust the process. Trust me, trust the process. If not, it's going to be hell for you. Because I fought it. I have fought it and fought it and fought it. And it's been hell. It's been a hell of a ride because I didn't just trust. It's very hard for me to trust. It's very hard to trust, period, in this day and age. And so having to trust some unseen force to guide you is really hard. You want proof. Well, I'm telling you that I have proof that there is a force that is divine and loving and good, and that you are divine and loving and good. Okay, so back to all that's happened to me. So after I was taken over by the Spirit, I started speaking in tongues. God flipped the dominoes. I realized, oh my gosh, all my best friends are 13th birthdays. So my best friend Joelle, Laura, Jan, my good friend, Jason. I mean, like both my neighbors. I was in a hospital for my ulcer. 13th birthday, my roommate. I was invited to sing with this group when I first started singing on Smule, and she's a 13th birthday. And these are people that came into my life at different times, all 13th birthdays, and I'm the 13th. So that was just really bizarre for me. I was like, why didn't I think of this before? And then I started going whenever I started going somewhere, weird things would happen. I was followed in a couple stores. A man was like touching everything that I touched. A family followed me. A woman came up to me and told me she saw God all around me. I was on an elevator, and this 70-year-old woman, probably in her early 70s, looked to me and said, "You have a very hard job to do." And I'm going, me? Like, I had no idea what she was talking about, but I was in such shock that the elevator opened and she walked out of the elevator with her husband. And I'm going, oh my gosh, pinch me. Well, thankfully there was somebody else that was on the elevator that day with us, and the guy asked me the next day, what was she talking about? And I said, I have no idea. And then one day I got off the elevator and there was a couple, and the woman like elbows her husband and goes, "That's her." And they just both looked at me, and I'm going, who am I? I'm nobody. I understood 2 portions of the Quran in Arabic. I was in a meditation. David Wilcock talks about there's 6, like a council that watch over the different portions of earth. And so I was sitting there painting, and all of a sudden then I was just surrounded by these 6 energies and the presence of God. And I was in the middle, and I was speaking in different tongues, actually physically moving like Indian style, and basically telling these energies why I should receive a blessing to be a voice. And that's exactly what happened. And so prior to that, like a few days before, I started singing this song, Como lati viti vativo una sed lo mujer no de seca, something maquined. Okay, so I have it written down, and I was singing the song, no idea what I was singing. And then I didn't translate it properly until after the fact. And so I was singing, as you saw, you will voice, you are a woman, not a machine. Now, if that's not profound, I don't know what is. I woke up and painted Jesus. Could not draw a straight line whatsoever. Liked the idea of being creative, but I could write poetry and sing a song, but I just couldn't paint or draw for nothing, absolutely nothing. But so Jesus is up there. I don't know if you see him. And there's some of my art. There's some over there, all those. And then up here's the Watcher. One of the first paintings that I ever painted was the very first Watcher. That's the second one. And the third one's back over there. But the Watcher is Enoch. And I had never read Enoch before, so that was pretty interesting, to find out that in Enoch it talks about the Watchers. And I'm a firm believer that there are certain parts of the Bible that were left out because they would actually benefit us, and they wouldn't keep us in a fear basis. Instead, they would make us see the big picture and maybe make us live differently. So instead of living in fear, we would be more accepting and more loving and more open to different ideas. However, we're not taught to nurture the spirit of another human being, and therefore, when these things happen to people, we deem them as crazy, schizophrenic, bipolar, PTSD, whatnot. So the bottom line is it's dis-ease. It's dis-ease, and people need to talk about their dis-ease, because if not, it manifests into a disease, and it kills you. So all these things, it was just like this snowball effect: the painting, the tongues, the light language, some people call it. And one night I woke up, I painted the symbol for Pluto. How would I know that? And then I was laying in bed dreaming. I guess it was very lucid dreaming, and I was taken out of my bed by these two beings, and then I was gently placed back down. I don't remember what happened in between, but when I looked up Pluto, it showed these two aliens, the same ones that were in my room that night, and that's just so weird. It's just crazy. And so I'm trying to make sense of everything, and then on top of that, just feeling like I'm targeted in a lot of ways. I guess, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, but the theories have to come from somewhere. They derive from some place. And then now we're seeing that all the people that we were like, oh, those people were crazy 10 years ago. Now we're like, oh, damn, we should have listened to them, because they're on point, and all this stuff is coming to truth. And the truth will set us free, and the truth will always come out in the end. What's in the dark will always come to the light. So if you're going through a spiritual awakening, the best thing that I can tell you is just to be honest. Even if it sucks even if you're scared, or just a little scared of telling somebody the truth, or telling them how you feel, or telling them something that you did, trust me, it's been very hard for me, but doing it has been liberating. And I find when I hold things inside, I just feel sick. Like, it makes me physically ill. So I'm just going to urge you through this process that you're going through, because I'm not like all the way, I haven't made it out unscathed. But through this process, this beautiful process, this metamorphosis, just be honest and be righteous. Just don't be an asshole. Be good to people. Be kind, be loving, and be kind and loving to yourself. And I have to remind myself of that all the time, because when you have all this spiritual stuff happening to you, you don't feel worthy. I didn't feel worthy anyways. Like, why me? I know a lot of people that go to church 2-3 times a week. They go to Bible study, that all this stuff happens to. And, and it's all this stuff's happening to me, rather, sorry. And so you feel like God made a mistake, and I can assure you that there are no mistakes in the universe, and you are not a mistake. And sometimes you may feel that way through this dark night, if you get into the dark night of the soul. And I've been there for a long time, and I'm just trying to gradually get out of it. And whatever habits, negative habits or lower vibrational habits that you may have acquired in the past, just know that they didn't happen overnight, and that the universe is going to be baby stepping it with you, just like it is with me. So just know that there is a final outcome, and that you're gonna be all right. So I hope this gives you some solace, and I love you for being human. If no one's told you they love you today, I love you, and I wish you all the best in the whole universe, because you deserve it. We deserve it. And that's it. Just trust the process because it's beautiful. Peace.